Tonight on Politicat, Iran directly attacks Israel for the first time. We'll discuss how this impacts U.S. foreign policy and what it means for the Israel-Hamas war.
And Evanston is considering a new migrant shelter, what it could mean for the community.
Finally, we're keeping our eye on the money, a look at candidates' campaign finances leading up to the 2024 election. Those stories and more tonight on Politicat.
It's your politics
right now. Good evening and welcome to our first Politicat here in our new studio on the 4th floor of the McCormick Foundation Center. I'm Maria Heim.
And I'm Jonas Calderon-Blum. We've got a packed show for you tonight, so let's jump right in. Tensions ran high on campus as several student groups protested at The Rock, bringing awareness to issues they claim Northwestern plays a role in fueling, including the university's alleged support for Israel amidst the ongoing war. NNN's Allison Miller has more.
Where does all the money go?
Where does all the money go?
Northwestern Students for Justice in Palestine, Students Organizing for Labor Rights, and other organizations gathered at The Rock for a combined rally on Monday.
In media, maybe Palestinian issues, labor issues, environmental issues are treated very distinctly. I think part of the goal of the event today was to prove that these are all interconnected.
The groups aim to spread their messages to admitted students during the last of Northwestern's Wildcat days.
If we can actually mobilize those admitted students to say hey, actually I care about this and this is going to be a part of my decision when I'm figuring out where to go, that makes a big impact.
The organizations distributed flyers asking admitted students to email university officials. They provided pre-scripted messages with complaints about the university's endowment's investments and treatment of campus workers.
I think it's just really great to see that students value holding this university accountable and using their agency as students to take action.
Free, free Palestine!
The flyers claimed that Northwestern is supporting a genocide in Israel by developing, quote, partnerships with academic institutions that enable AI-powered apartheid, end quote, and that Jewish students are funneled into a, quote, Zionist Hillel. But students at Northwestern Hillel deny this.
It's important to let them know that Hillel is more than just any kind of propaganda that's put out about us.
Also taking part in the rally was Jewish Voices for Peace, a group that is, quote, demanding a permanent ceasefire in Palestine.
JVP has kind of realized that there's a gap in creating that kind of welcoming environment specifically for Jewish students. And so it's really exciting to see that they are active and that they're doing things and they were able to collaborate with us.
But Hillel says they welcome all students from a wide range of backgrounds and political perspectives.
Hillel is an inclusive and diverse community, no matter what others say about us.
Allison Miller, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Allison. NNN did reach out to the university for comment on yesterday's rally. Spokesperson tells us, quote, the university fully supports our community's right to peaceful protest. Northwestern did not respond to the specific allegation that the university supports genocide.
Iran launched an attack of over 300 projectiles against Israel Saturday night, an act of retaliation for an Israel airstrike that killed several Iranian officials at its consulate in Syria earlier this month. Israel has yet to agree how to respond to the Iranian attack, although the Israeli Prime Minister has reportedly asked his advisors for a list of targets. Iran fired a combination of drones and missiles into Israeli airspace, the vast majority of which were shot down before they could do any damage. Israel's Iron Dome, with help from French, British, and American firepower, minimized destruction, with only slight damage to an Israeli airbase and injuries sustained by one 7-year-old girl. Despite the minimal damage, Tehran says it achieved all its objectives. Here with more on the attack and its effects are NNN's Nora DeCruz and Gabriela Umbermadel. First to you, how does the airstrike factor into relations between the U.S. and Israel?
Thank you, Maria. So relations between the U.S. and Israel have been very tense. This has especially been demonstrated by Israel's conduction of deadly airstrikes on the Iranian diplomatic compound in Syria just 2 weeks ago. Since then, the Iranian government has publicly promised retaliation, and this was condemned, especially demonstrated in Biden's call with Netanyahu on April 4th, where he condemned the targeted attacks, as well as the other civilian harm and humanitarian suffering. The drone strikes made by the Iranian government against Israel this weekend create more tension in the Middle East, as Israel is already keen to respond. Legislators have introduced at least 17 related bills in the House, according to a White House source, and that has been the U.S. Congress's response. Speaker Mike Johnson announces that much of this is focused on aid to Israel.
And what is to be expected of Israel's response to this?
Yeah, so the Israel government is weighing their options right now. Currently, Biden is discouraging retaliatory strikes. However, this is only one of 3 factors in Israel's consideration of the decisions that they'll make. The first that they're considering is deterrence, so discouraging further attacks from Iran and other Middle Eastern countries. They're also considering the sustainability of a 3-point war potentially, so with Iran and already the current war that's going on in Gaza. And the last consideration is the Biden administration's discouragement of retaliation.
Yeah, thank you. And as far as where we're headed into now, Gabriella, what does this mean for the Israel-Hamas war?
Yeah, absolutely. Following the attacks, Israel has a decision to make regarding launching this conflict into an interstate war and what that means for U.S. involvement. Biden and the U.S. government has stated that they do not want the conflict to escalate, and they have had discussions with the Israeli government talking about possibilities to still have the backing of the U.S. government. That being said, a permanent ceasefire will be much less likely for the Palestinian people following the involvement of another state. Analysts and former military officers hypothesize that Israel will be better off coming out of an Iranian-Israeli war. That being said, with Lebanon's Iran-backed militia, a war with these states could be the most serious military threat posed against Iran and Israel since the Yom Kippur War.
Thanks, Gabriella. And what are the implications for the Palestinian people still held at the Gaza Strip?
Yeah, absolutely. The latest metrics from the UN have put the death toll in Gaza at over 30,000, meaning that's 1 in every 73 people in the Strip. Currently, the leading causes of death are not only the bombings in the Strip, but the starvation wiping the region. With an interstate war on the verge, this can mean 2 very different things for Palestinians. On one hand, more Israeli attention towards Iran may slow the bombings and deliberate assassinations within the Strip. However, on another hand, it also means that the global community may shift its attention as well, leaving Gaza without necessary humanitarian aid and trapped in the southern regions like Rafah without food, clean water, or any way out. As the tension between Iran and Israel pans out, the threat of an interstate war sets the stage for an increase of casualties in not only the Islamic Republic and the Jewish state, but also the Gaza Strip.
Thank you both. We'll be keeping an eye on this conflict as the conflict in the Middle East develops. After the break, we'll take a deep dive into President Trump's criminal trial in New York, where 7 of 12 jurors have been chosen so far. We'll be right back.
Trying to work my way out of the prison system was the most difficult challenge of my life. It only became tangible once I became a Northwestern student.
One, two, three, four.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Welcome back. Last week, the Biden administration announced a new student loan forgiveness proposal. This comes after the Supreme Court struck down Biden's original debt relief plan back in June. While not as aggressive as that formal proposal, millions of Americans could still be affected. Over 4 million loan borrowers could see their student debt canceled completely, according to the White House, while another 10 million potentially get over $5,000 in relief. Student loan forgiveness has become central to Biden's re-election bid, but experts say these regulations won't fully come into fruition until July of next year at the very earliest. Maria?
As Americans gear up to vote this November, abortion remains a key issue for voters. Former President Trump has largely remained quiet on the topic until this week. This comes as Arizona's Supreme Court makes a controversial decision, restricting reproductive rights in the state. NNN's Victoria Ryan joins us in studio. Victoria?
Trump clarified his stance on abortion Monday after pressure from voters to make a decision. Posting a video to his social media platform Truth Social, the former president says abortion should be left up to the states and encouraged voters to head to the polls.
This is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart or, in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote.
The Arizona ruling last Tuesday suggested doctors can be prosecuted for performing abortions in accordance with an 1864 law. Trump said the court went too far and asked it to, quote, remedy its decision. Trump played a major role in the reversal of Roe v. Wade due to his appointment of multiple conservative judges during his presidential term, and thanked them individually for their work on the bench. This video did not mention a national ban, however, highlighting the division within the Republican Party. The Republican Party has struggled to unify behind a stance on abortion, and Trump's delay in making a statement reflects this. By passing the responsibility to the states, Trump is attempting to appeal to a wider audience, such as suburban white women, a group that swings blue on issues such as reproductive rights. However, the evangelical base that Trump and the Republicans so heavily rely on supports a national abortion ban. His decision to take a step back may weaken support from this group. Trump has received backlash from his fellow party members following the video, including this statement from former Vice President Mike Pence. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham has also said that he respectfully disagrees with the former president's position. Trump's mixed messaging on this makes one thing clear: abortion is still a very important issue for the Republican Party, and one that could have a great impact on election results.
Thanks, Victoria. We'll be following developments on the battle over abortion rights.
House Speaker Mike Johnson is pushing a vote this week on bills for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan aid. With threats looming to oust him as Speaker from members of his own party, Johnson aims to break the package into separate votes due to political divides over the conflicts. These developments have been unfolding over the last 2 months, but Johnson faces new pressure following Iran's Saturday attack on Israel. In February, the Senate passed an emergency $95 billion aid package that Johnson did not bring to the House floor. Ever since, he's been trying to reach consensus and amid an increasingly divided Republican congressional majority. If passed, House Republicans say the bills will be sent as a single package to the Senate. Maria?
The city of Chicago has been assisting almost 40,000 migrants sent from Texas. Now Evanston might offer to help. NNN's Paris Franzway spoke to supporters of a proposed temporary shelter.
Thanks to a Cook County grant, Evanston could soon be home to a temporary migrant shelter, supporting Chicago's efforts as a sanctuary city.
We should not be surprised after years of this kind of busing if 75 people show up in the middle of Town Square.
The city council is discussing whether to apply for up to $20 million to fund the project. But some feel Evanston should invest more in their current residents.
And it's a total slap in the face to people who have been paying taxes in this community all these years, but never have access to any kinds of assistance.
Advocates say that Evanston can help community members and migrants in need.
We need to tackle affordable housing. We need to tackle transportation equity and better schools. We can do both. This is a chance for us to actually live our values both with new arrivals and continue to invest in the community with long-term residents.
While grant money could be applied towards rent assistance, it might not match migrants' needs.
A few months of rent assistance is not necessarily going to give people the grounding that they need to succeed here.
Others are worried that this potential shelter location at 1020 Church Street is too close to the proposed Evanston Northlight Theater, which is projected to be a big boost to the Evanston economy.
I'm afraid that if we put a shelter right next door to it, we put in a blanket over that North Star.
Supporters of a temporary shelter urge residents to look past harmful stereotypes about migrants when making an opinion.
Go talk to them, go to your local shelter, go to the church that you know is helping them out, meet them.
Further discussions on the grant could occur before applications are due later this week. Paris Francois, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Paris. The Civic Center and a vacant office building are proposed shelter locations, but would both require significant renovations.
Donald Trump's hush money trial began in New York City on Monday, making him the first former president to stand trial in a criminal case. The trial centers on allegations that he falsified business records as part of a scheme to conceal a $130,000 hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels in the week leading up to the 2016 presidential election. Trump, who is the presumptive Republican nominee for the presidency, faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, though he has pleaded not guilty. NNN's Caitlyn Bender-Thomas joins us now in the studio with more. Trump has 3 other criminal cases against him. What makes this case so significant?
Yeah, so we know the former president faces a total of 88 criminal charges across 4 separate cases, and he's used every legal strategy at his disposal to try to dismiss or delay the proceedings, and it's succeeded so far in the other 3 cases, potentially pushing them into or past the November 5th presidential election. But this case is different. His lawyers made 3 last-minute attempts to delay the trial, but the New York Appeals Court rejected them each time.
And what can we expect from this trial?
For sure. So jury selection began on Monday, but 7 jurors weren't selected until today, leaving they still have to select 5 more in addition to 6 alternates. Now, this trial will not be televised and is expected to last 6 to 8 weeks. And the president will be required, former president will be required to be in court each day. Now, as far as what we expect from the prosecution, under New York law, falsifying business records is a misdemeanor, but it bumps up to a felony when done with the intent to commit or conceal some other crime. So the burden will be on prosecutors not only to, prove that he falsified business records, but did so with the intent to conceal another crime, which in this case will be campaign finance violations.
Thanks, Caitlyn. We will continue to follow Trump's court cases leading up to the election.
And this trial is likely to impact voter demographics leading up to November. NNN's Fiona Ban joins us in the studio.
Both candidates are contending with major issues. Biden, of course, has fallout from his domestic and foreign policies, but Trump's criminal cases hang over his campaign. And those factors are impacting which voter supports which candidate. One of the most discussed is the youth vote. Biden trails Trump, but not by much. In recent polls among young people, polls have shown Gen Z and millennials supporting Biden at a lower rate than older generations, including the baby boomer generation. Going into the election, losing young voters may seem concerning. However, when looking at turnout data, they have the lowest rate. According to Politico, in the 2020 election, voters under 25 turned out at a significantly lower rate than older generations. In regards to gender, Trump maintains a stronghold on young male voters, while Biden continues to poll strongly with young women. Biden appears to be polling slightly better with non-white voters, with 55% saying they would vote for Biden if the election was today and 44% answering Trump. Biden's domestic policies have been affecting how he polls among the working class. To get a better understanding, we can look at the counties around Philadelphia. The Wall Street Journal reports that Biden's anti-fracking stance has hurt his support from the working class citizens in this area. The community relies heavily on the oil extraction as industry, and his policies would hurt the local economy. Both candidates will be watching this group to see how support shifts. We are already seeing many changes in the electorate this election season. However, there is still 6 more months before the election, and alignment will likely continue to shift.
Thanks, Fiona. We'll be tracking that. Coming up on Politicat, Allison Miller joins us to discuss a proposed bill banning Native American mascots here in Illinois. Stay with us.
I'm Kelly McEvers, founding host of the NPR podcast Embedded.
I'm James Edwards, host of the Unresolved podcast from Frontline.
I'm Antonia Cereijido, former senior producer of Anything for Selena podcast and current executive producer at Elias Studios.
My narrative, since I've been locked up and kind of made my transition, has been like redemption, accountability.
When I come into the classroom environment, every individual that sits amongst me takes education seriously.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Election season is on its way, and millions of dollars have been collected by both major parties. NNN's Mila Brandonson is here with more on the race for campaign funding.
Thanks, Maria. Looking to November, securing financial support will be crucial for both the presidential election and the battle of power in Congress. President Biden's re-election campaign and the Democratic National Committee raised $90 million in March. The amount is $25 million more than former President Donald Trump's $66 million. For Biden, this means his campaign finished the year's first quarter with more than $192 million on hand. With the funds, Biden has increased his campaign sites and run television ads in key states. For instance, Biden is set to spend more than $22 million on advertising in Arizona between April 1st and the election, according to ad tracking firm Ad Impact. But so far, Trump has not done the same. Legal bills continue to rise for the former president, and his campaign and super PACs may have to foot the bills. With a total of $93 million so far, Trump and the Republican National Committee are nearly $100 million below Biden and the Democrats. Although Trump and Biden are close in polls, Biden's cash advantage could give his campaign a leg up. At the same time, all 435 House seats are up for election this fall. House Democrats aim to secure just 4 more to win back the majority. The House Majority PAC, linked to Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, plans to target current Republican districts that Biden carried in 2020. The Super PAC is spending $146 million on an initial round of TV ads and $40 million on nationwide digital advertising. TV advertisements seem to be a top priority for spending in the Democratic bids for both Congress and the presidency. Maria?
Thanks, Mila. We'll keep our eye on the numbers as campaign season heats up.
A bill in the Illinois state legislature could ban K-12 schools from using Native American mascots, logos, or names. Not the first attempt to do so. Advocates for the bill say these mascots are inaccurate and objectifying, while opponents worry about the financial cost of rebranding and argue that erasing the mascots further removes the presence of Indigenous peoples. If the bill becomes a law, districts would need to make the changes by September 1st, 2027. Here to discuss the legislation is NNN's Allison Miller. Allison, is this proposal unique, or have other states looked into implementing these bans in the past?
So it's not unique. As of 2022, more than 21 states have considered or taken action to change Native American-themed mascots, according to the National Congress of American Indians. Maine became the first state to pass a full ban on the use of Indigenous mascots in public schools back in 2019. New York State voted to ban Native American-themed logos and mascots last year, and those must be removed by 2025 at the risk of losing state funding. In Washington State, schools must get permission from the nearest federally recognized tribe to use a mascot.
And we know this is not the first time that Illinois has considered taking these actions. What did the previous attempts look like compared to this one?
Yeah, so there was another bill proposed in 2020 that would have required school-wide programs on Native American culture and offered course of study outlining Native American contributions to society. Both this one and the current bill were proposed by the same person, State Representative Maurice West. However, neither of these provisions are in the current bill.
And so if this bill is made law, what type of impact could we expect here in Illinois?
Yeah, of course. So as of 2021, over 50 Illinois high schools have had Native American names or imagery for their mascots. The current bill only requires schools to select a new mascot or name, stop purchasing materials using the old mascot, and replace the mascot the next time the facility is remodeled.
Thanks, Allison. That's all the time we have for tonight. I'm Jonas Calderon-Blum.
And I'm Maria Heim. Politicat will be back in just a couple of weeks from all here at NNN. Thanks for watching. Until next time.